this kind of book was like more about one, the Gallo crew in general was kind of all about rebelling against the bosses. And you see this little kid looking up to these guys who are not only rebelling against, the government by being gangsters in general, they were rebelling against even the hierarchies of gangsters. And you get like this kind of Wild West cowboy image from them, which if you're Frank DeMeo and you're a little kid growing up, looking up to these people, that's how you would see them. And one of the things of like...
He literally grew up... I mean, you can't even blame a guy like that who's like...
Exactly.
All your fucking older relatives and everyone who's respected in your neighborhood is like involved in this.
Yes.
And then you just implicitly are involved. Your father, you become a driver for your father. Like,
yeah.
That's your number one role model. Like,
yeah.
Obviously, I don't know.
And one of the things that also why I kind of suggested, like, if you want to know more about the Mafia, this book is where to start. If you read Murder Machine, you end Murder Machine by thinking to yourself, why would anyone ever want to be a part of that? Because
he knew he was gonna die for a while.
Yeah, but exactly. But Murder Machine, it's very by the facts, and
is it though?
Well, it's very
wasn't
like,
that book like considered sensationalism at a point?
I mean, sensationalism in the fact that like they're clearly profiting off of like some horrible things that happened,
but not they weren't like
what I meant
juicing
by,
up the facts about Roy DeMeo himself.
I don't know. I know Roy DeMeo's family said that.
You can't really take that.
But
they obviously have an interest.
What I was trying to say by like factual is like they kind of present it to you like it's reporting. And when you look at it like that, you come off of it thinking like, yeah, why would anybody ever want to join this organization? This seems horrible. But when you read this book, which Frank DiMatteo, his story, Billie Jean King fell. Woman down. His story of how he joined the mob isn't all that much different from most of these guys. It's the neighborhood. When you're around it, it's ingrained in your culture, in your identity. When especially in the 60s and 70s, when the Mafia was an ever-present force in every aspect of Italian society in Brooklyn during that point. You totally understand why someone would join this group, why they would want to join this group, why they would kind of commit their life to this group.
At the same time, though, to be honest, and to be fair to obviously Italian people back then, even like our grandmother has said, like, just from stories, because we have a couple of people that were in the Mafia, like, back then in our family, and, it was definitely a choice at the same time.
Right.
Where it was like our grandfather, our grandmother's father, early on was like involved just because like that's what was his, his brother was doing and shit like that. But at a certain point he was like, okay, like I'm not going to go down that road.
Right.
And he didn't have fucking many opportunities.
Right.
He ended up working as like as a produce, like he had like a produce truck or something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's definitely some choices involved.
No, 100%. 100%.
It could also be an excuse to be like, oh, it's the neighborhood.
Yeah,
like,
but it's also like, you could see why a kid like that would kind of like become infatuated by these people.
Oh, yeah, of course.
One of the stories that, you hear from John Gotti Jr. is he talks about how he didn't want to be in the Mafia until he got in trouble, and basically he got like in some trouble with the law, and his father, John Gotti, kind of made him sit at the Bergen Hunt and Fish Lounge.
Well, that's
his social crew.
That's the night that John Gotti Jr. was out with his friends, and there was a fight at the bar, and
a kid got killed.
Somebody ended up dying.
And basically,
and as punishment,
John Gotti Sr. said, "You can't hang out with your friends. You're going to sit with me while I'm at my social club."
Which in turn led him being
but
involved.
He was saying, like, he never considered being part of the mob until he was sitting there every day. And he's like, how these people were, how they had this persona of just like, they were mythic figures walking the earth. And
he was in fucking military school before
He was in military school before that, and he said he wanted a career in the military before that. And
it's like Michael Francis was like,
yeah, and Michael
going
Francis
to business school or some shit.
Yeah. But you can see how, like, with these young kids, there is kind of like a seduction almost into this life.
Yeah, of course.
You create these personas of who these people are.